This is The Outlook, LGBTI news, views and culture, brought to you by Newshub.
Welcome to The Outlook, queer news, views and culture, brought to you by Newshub. This is one of these bonus episodes because we are weekly during the month of Pride. Here this week is Stephen Oates, MP Nikki Kaye and Sarah Templeton, who was just so popular last time. We went over to her desk and dragged her all the way back.
Oh my God, the fans, they were just clamouring.
How are you guys going?
Good. Very well.
Good, thanks. Yeah, enjoying Pride so far?
Very much enjoying it. Enjoying your T-shirt.
Oh,
especially.
Thanks. Yeah. Teaming with the theme. But first this week, The Outlook looks into one of the issues that listeners to the podcast have been asking us to look into. What to do or how to be supportive when you're a parent of an LGBTIQ child.
This is so hard, but I think I've realized that I can't even say the word. Why can't I say the word? I mean, why can't I just say... I mean, what is wrong? Why do I have to be so ashamed? I mean, why can't I just say the truth? I mean, be who I am. I'm 35 years old. I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
Coming out can be one of the most difficult things in a person's life, especially if you live in the regions. And of course, it's for that reason, those people in the regions, that I personally am motivated to do this podcast, to get the voices out there. Joining us now from Holding Our Own is Amanda Aarons. How's it going?
Hey there, how are you doing?
Great. So firstly, tell us what Holding Our Own does.
Holding Our Own started about 5 years ago, and what it is basically it's a support group I run. We have got sister groups running now in Wellington and hopefully soon in other areas. And what we do is we basically help parents and whānau and siblings, anybody who's involved with a gay or trans child, and having struggles with all the thoughts around those coming out and how to manage those coming out. And so we are a group that talk about those things and bring out the issues and challenge some of the rough stuff.
Yeah, it was one thing that was said to me when which I found was quite interesting, when I came out to my parents. My dad said to me, "Oh, it's funny, when you come out of the closet, we go in." Because of, then they have to tell their friends about it, which I thought is kind of an interesting thing. Is that a common thing with some of the parents you've spoken to?
Well, absolutely. So when my son came out, he was having a tantrum at me that this was his coming out and his angst, and I was spoiling it by
of course.
Very, very accepting.
You're meant to be annoyed at me, yeah.
Exactly. And but one of the things that did come out of that conversation was that actually this is not just your coming out.
Yeah.
We also have a coming out. We have a coming out to parents and grandparents. We have a coming out to aunts and uncles. We have a coming out to friends. And so it's a much broader circle than just one-on-one. So whilst it is primarily, and of course that is the part that we have to focus on in terms of keeping safe and minding our child who is coming out, there is a much bigger picture going on here.
Mm. So I guess the answer to the question, how do you react, is obviously the message of support is key, right?
Well, absolutely. And I think, there's no one defined way of doing this. We're all individuals and our children are individuals, and we have diverse backgrounds with cultural issues and religious issues. And so we all have to work within those parameters and understand ourselves. And I think in time things work its way out if you're willing and open, and if you keep in mind that the primary goal is to remain in relationship with your child. So, if that's the primary thing for you, then that's what's going to guide it.
Are there any common mistakes made by parents or anything that they unnecessarily stress about?
I think that it wouldn't be fair, because I think everyone's experience is real and rich and real to them. So I think it wouldn't be fair that it's unnecessary or what have you. But I think it is important to recognise that if things do go a bit pear-shaped, that you hold a space open so that you can talk to your child and say, look, that came out in the moment, and that's not what I mean, or that's not how I felt this, or this was just shocking to me in the moment and I kind of lost my mind, because that happens.
Yeah.
And we're all fallible. But actually, at the end of the day, it's just to remember where your primary care is, and that is to your child. And really, I mean, we all talk about unconditional love, bringing up our children. This is that moment. This is that moment to really show unconditional love. So I may not understand all this. I may not like all this. I may not know what this is all about. But I love you. You are my child.
Mm. One of the people that contacted us said they were in a situation where they are, pretty certain they've seen things and heard things where they think their son is gay. They're a teenage boy, and they asked, do they approach them to bring it up, or do they just wait for the boy to come to them?
I think it's really probably more mindful to let your child come to you when they feel comfortable and safe, and they will if they feel comfortable and safe. So essentially, if you have those kind of suspicions or information has been brought to you or you've noticed some things, and we all do over the years, then what happens is just to be making that space available for your child, like, hey, you know what, just by the way, we can talk about anything. You're always safe here. We love you. Nothing would ever change that. Just keeping those thoughts and sentiments very real and very open to them, so that they're not lying in bed at night wondering what will happen when they come out.
I came out when I was 16, and looking back, I don't know how I could possibly think that my parents didn't know, given the music I was playing and the concerts I was going to and the way I was dressing. I just thought, man, I was a bit naive there. They could pretty much tell straight away.
Well, it's really, honestly, I mean, it's an interesting conversation because some parents don't have a clue and it just comes out of left field.
Yeah.
And other parents will say things like, oh, I knew from the time he was 3 years old. And so that was my experience, but my husband had no idea.
Yeah.
I think we were living on different planets at the time.
Yeah.
But we did have very different experiences. And so, I think it really is about what you're looking for and what you accept. And what you're experiencing, and everyone's own experience,
It's interesting that you said how you kind of knew, but the father didn't. And from my group of friends, I feel like it's usually the mother that's told first. Is that? Do you think there's a reason for that, or?
Well, I think just sort of on a relationship basis, women are more able to be open to the emotional kind of cues that are in front of us. I think mums are probably more. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience as a South African, so I'm sure that men here are much more involved with children. I can see that.
Yeah.
But for us, kind of, moms were really sort of the first person involved in everything, and so I think a lot of that conversation comes to mom. So I think that does happen. But I think there's no reason why it shouldn't happen from both sides.
Yeah.
If the conversation is open and the channels are open and the people are willing to have those conversations and look at stuff. There's so much media out there where you can be watching stuff and having conversations that don't feel awkward or strange or out of center. You can actually open those conversations.
And also, I think what I would say to parents who've got teenagers in this situation is don't assume the stereotype as well. So don't think, okay, my son is gay, which means he's now going to wear tank tops and white pants and he's going to listen to Kylie Minogue for the rest of his life. He might become an All Black or a Warrior or something like that. Don't kind of don't assume that just because they're gay it means this. They're the same person. They've got different personalities. I think a lot of people do assume that you're just going to become typical, generic gay.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the truth, and I think it's a very naive perspective because our children are well educated. They've got a lot of information at their fingertips. They're speaking to each other, and on a continuum, there is just so many places for our kids to fit in. So it's not what it was in the past, and all those old jokes that are sort of really overdone and overplayed contribute also to that stereotype, and it's not real. Yeah.
As a parent, should you start dropping hints that you are accepting of this kind of thing rather than approaching? So very subtle hints, I guess?
I guess it's not going to hurt anybody. I think it's no different to opening the conversation on race or religion or culture. Do you know what I mean? It's just another culture. And so we're open to this. We're accepting they're people. People are people, you know.
I remember once watching something on TV and my mum, I would have been about 14 or 15, and mum said, "Oh, yeah, this actor, he's gay." And, you know, I've got no problem with that. I just think it's fantastic and people should be who they be. And I walked out of the room thinking, what was that about?
What was that about? But it also said, oh, great big ears were flapping because you remembered that to this day.
Exactly.
And so basically what it says is, Mum's accepting of me. I'm safe. There's something that's safe.
Yeah. What are the key things once someone has come out, and for parents, how to remain supportive but not overstep that line because you don't want to freak out or push your child away?
Yeah. So I think it's really important to establish a culture of conversation with your child. And so that's why those little hints and why those conversations are important as they're growing up and as they are teens, to sort of really sit down and talk about stuff after a movie you've watched or after something you've heard on a podcast or read in a book. So it's really important to have those conversations because then you can kind of gauge where everybody is, and your children will let you know what they need. It's really important not to push stuff, particularly in some area that you're not sure of or don't fully understand. So get educated, watch stuff, read stuff, listen. There's lots out there, yeah.
And finally, I think I can't speak from personal experience because I'm not a parent, but I feel like one of the biggest challenges at the moment for parents of children and teenagers is keeping an eye on things like online bullying and that sort of thing. And it is very difficult to police because you don't want to be seen as intrusive by your child, but at the same time, it is incredibly important that you make sure that they're safe. Is this something that parents that you've spoken to have struggled with? There is bullying. There's always bullying. I have to say, though, that the kids generally stick in groups that are inclusive and groups that they align with. So there's a huge amount of support on there as well. So it's really important to have those conversations again, because when my kids were younger, they weren't afforded the right of privacy because they are children for a reason. They need adulting around them, and so we had a really strong, clear message that we were going to be keeping an eye on things, and they were actually okay with that because it did stop that kind of stuff. So the privacy happens at a time where they're old enough to have that respect and to have that responsibility and to be able to do it on their own. So we're parents for a time and then we're supporters after that. It has been so good to talk to you. You've just got so much great information and knowledge and advice around this area.
Thank you.
And hopefully at some point we can get you in the studio on the podcast. It would be great to talk at length about some of these issues. That's Amanda Aaron. So just tell us about where people can get in contact with you.
Oh, I work straight off my mobile phone, so you're welcome to give out my number. It's 021 125 7775, and I'm Amanda. And people can contact me directly. They can get me through our Facebook page, and they can also get me through our website. So we're all over the place, and I'm working one-on-one at the moment with people, and so whatever they need, they just need to call.
That's amazing. And what's the address for the website?
It is www.holdingourown.co.nz.
Amanda, again, thank you so much for joining us here on The Outlook.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much.
It's worth pointing out, guys, that Amanda does this in her own time, free of charge, which I just think is absolutely amazing. If you want to get in touch with her, she said to just give her a text or a phone call on her number, which is 021 125 7775. Just keep in mind that, she has a day job, so evenings and weekends are probably best. And also, you can head to her website as well. The link to that is on newshub.co.nz/podcasts. More from The Outlook after this.
Our inbox needs filling. Get in touch if you have a story you'd like to tell or a topic that you want us to cover. All emails are kept confidential.
Nikki, we were just keen to have you basically come in and have a chat because we haven't spoken to you in quite some time, and it's like we need to catch up.
Yeah, well, it's very good to be here, as always. I enjoy seeing Stephen as well.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of the Pride events happen in Auckland Central, which is your spot, your electorate. What can you tell us about what kind of people make up that electorate?
Well, look, I mean, we've always had a massive LGBTIQ community, but also there's a lot of history in the electorate in terms of some of the activists that have fought really hard. And, you know, whether it's as well Kaye Road, which is the heart of some of the community, I think, you know, it's not a mistake that a number of the events occur here because that's where there's some core people who have advocated over a long period of time on a number of issues that matter to the LGBTI community, QQ community.
This year is a bit different, though. Do you think that the negative publicity around the event may damage some of the goodwill, say, from, like, the straight community? They may just kind of sigh or, you know, just be a bit unimpressed with how things have gone? I
hope not. I think the reality is there's so many great things happening in the LGBTIQ community. I mean, if you look at this Pride Festival in itself, whether it's, you know, the theatre or even Big Gay Out that's now in its 20th year, I personally believe that the community need to work through the issues around the parade, but there's so much other great stuff going on that you know, I think people will get through it.
I think if you're the type of person that's rolling your eyes, then you obviously have a very clouded view of what's going on.
That's right. And I think it might just give some people the opportunity, though, to feel justified in rolling their eyes. Like, the gays.
Oh, here they go again.
Here they go again.
They love a drama.
I'm hesitant to talk too much on this topic because I've tried to remain
smart choice,
quite neutral.
Yep.
But I have to answer your question
in
that I have been observing some of the commentary online, especially a prime example is on the weekend there was a video released about Papa and people against prisons, and just the comments are so vile and it's embarrassing from my point of view because there are so many people on the far right who are rubbing their hands with glee. Look at the lefty radicals. They're exactly what we said they were. They're just destroying themselves, and they're having a field day. Basically, it would be. I've used the analogy of it would be like us, on the kind of leftish side, the more liberal side. And queer side, looking at Destiny's Church, and if Destiny's Church were to fall apart in some scandal, I'm sure that my peers, we would all be rubbing our hands, going, hey, "This is exactly what we predicted. This is what we wanted. We knew they were toxic and corrupt.
Let them burn themselves.
Yeah, let them burn themselves." And I think that a lot of people
tried.
A lot of I mean, what's the word? Conservatives or the right isn't necessarily the word, because conservatives and right wing are not necessarily homophobic, but just kind of those, the entrenched homophobic part of the community are rubbing their hands with glee watching Pride destroy itself.
Yeah, and it is really unfortunate. This question really both for Stephen and Nikki. Nikki, how many Pride events now how many festivals would you have been involved in?
I've pretty much been. So, I mean, obviously, I advocated for for funding to come back and to have some form of parade. And there were a range of people.
Can I just jump in? Because I know that Nikki isn't going to toot her own horn, but I just want to toe talk with that. And I know for a fact that Nikki was instrumental in allowing us to bring the parade back. And I know that in very early discussions between key members of the queer community that were trying to lobby the council to bring that back, Nikki was a driving factor in that. And so I'd like to thank you for that.
Thank you. But there were lots of people that were involved.
Yes, there were, but you were part of that.
Thank you. But so it's really since then, I've been at, I think, pretty much every Big Gay Out since I've been an MP. So I'd have to check. There may have been one when I was overseas, but that's over a decade. And I've then obviously attended a number of Pride events. I've been I participated and got my ass kicked in the Pride debate several times. So
I miss those. We need to bring them back.
Yeah, they'll come back. It's just timing and feeling and right people at right time.
I'm very happy to be a judge if that position is
A
going.
mentor?
That's exactly, that's great.
But you've always been fabulous at it. It's been great.
But your record in the Auckland Central electorate is a lot different to that in the fact that you are pretty much the only person that has ever beat Jacinda. Is that like a badge of honour?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't describe it as that. I mean, look, I've said very publicly, I mean, she's our Prime Minister. It's a very different race to what the national race is. It was very close each election, so it wasn't like I was doing a victory lap. It was certainly down to, at times, hundreds of votes. Yeah. And, from my perspective, I try to be, while we don't agree on every issue, and there have been one or two times where we've, had a stoush, I try to be very respectful of her achievements and what she's doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are your, in terms of the big gay out, which we will talk to Stephen about in a moment, the dancing?
Yeah.
Is it a yearly thing?
Yeah.
What dancing?
The dancing that occurs at Big Gay Out usually.
The one I remember was Buffy Bimbo, John Key and Nikki.
Yeah, so
it on the dance floor.
The first kind of full disclosure is that I'm like the most uncoordinated person ever. So I'm the worst person.
I think John Key might have beat you.
Yeah, maybe
I was thinking Buffy Bimbo, actually.
Maybe actually, so I'm the worst person.
No,
so it's kind of is like my worst nightmare is having all of the national media and then you dancing in front of that. So.
Oh my God, that would be my dream come true.
I've got better at kind of like shimmying myself out of the shot. So yeah,
moonwalking out.
That's right. It's kind of,
there was going to be no winners in that, though.
Yeah.
It was a very awkward kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, sometimes it does get quite politically heated at the Big Gay Out.
Yeah, I mean it has. Look, I mean the thing I would say is, I'm really proud of the community in the sense that I think that they have been very welcoming. Most, you're always going to get people that get pretty heated at something like this, and that's their right to do that.
Surely at any big event, right?
Yeah, and then that's their right to do that. But I think that it's really a great event, Big Gay Out, and that each the political parties turn up. Yeah, and they are by and large welcomed, and the leaders of it's a mana. Yeah, it shows mana to the community that both prime ministers and leaders turn up and walk around and talk to people and try and understand better the issues that the community are facing.
Yeah. Also, I think we mustn't let it pass that we should acknowledge that how many countries in the world have their prime minister turn up? Every year, turn up to an LGBTI event. Does it happen in Australia? I don't even think so.
It doesn't. And there was a situation where there was an MP that went to Mardi Gras every year, but as soon as they became Prime Minister, they didn't go. It's just that there's just across the ditch. There's that big difference. Yeah.
And I think
it's something we need to be very proud of as New Zealanders.
I think sometimes you do feel like as a New Zealander, you keep sort of pumping that same refrain that, we do have it so much better here than elsewhere. But at the end of the day, we do. Yeah. And so I think, when you look at so many different aspects of our culture that we can improve on, you do also have to address how far we've come and also how far ahead of other parts of the world we are, because you have friends that come internationally and can't believe it. Yeah. Can't believe it. That there is an event with a Big Gay Out that our politicians go to and wear a fetching yellow t-shirt.
It's also it's very similar to our Indigenous people here in that obviously, there are lots of things that aren't perfect, but in terms of the world, our leaders turn up to Indigenous events, like Waitangi and other events like that just doesn't happen in hardly anywhere in the world. And there are places, we need to acknowledge that.
Like the USA at the moment, where the rights of the LGBTIQ community are actually being rolled back by a current government. So that's even more kind of like highlights where we're at.
Anything we can do to keep that snowball rolling forward.
Yes. Speaking of snowballs rolling forward, I've got no idea how I'm going to link this.
I was setting you up. Right. I'm setting you up for a transition.
Just an interesting story that caught my attention. It's kind of maybe one of those rubbing your hands with glee stories. One of America's most prominent gay conversion therapists has come out and left his wife. He was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ and became famous for reparative therapy, which he claims can make a gay person straight. And now
These come round like several times a year.
I was
These
I
are
wish I
not
could be
news
surprised.
stories. It's like, homophobic minister found cruising gay porn website, or, evangelical
In the
preacher
airport bathroom.
found in gay brothel.
Foot under the door. We hear it every time.
the
The
moves,
screen
Sarah.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I've tried, but I'm not the right market. I just think that this is just such a classic refrain because it's the people that are the most vocal that have got the most to hide.
The guy that used to hassle me almost more than anyone at high school went on to manage Family Bar.
Yeah.
Butch. Big Gay Out.
Yes, this weekend.
Tell us about it.
It's happening this weekend at Coyle Park. It happens every year. It's a fantastic event. It's a standard. It's within the Pride Festival, but it's sponsored and put on by the New Zealand AIDS Foundation. It's a way for them to get out their safe sex messages, which is a really good thing. It's sponsored by their campaign Ending HIV. So I'm pretty sure it's called the Ending HIV Big Gay Out. I think it's the 20th year.
It is the 20th anniversary.
Yes.
Speaking of sponsorship, I'm just going to say MediaWorks is sponsoring it this year as well. Very proud of that.
Well, actually, I can tell you, it's Ending HIV, New Zealand AIDS Foundation, Durex, AUT, Fletcher Building, Vodafone, MediaWorks, Chorus, Auckland Council, The Warehouse, Positive Women, Positive, Body Positive, Auckland City Council, Pub Charity, Grassroots, St John's, and Foundation North.
Amazing.
I just knew that off the top of my head.
30 minutes later.
But most of it kicks off at about 12 o'clock, so you do want to get there, and if you want to get a good posse to watch the stage, because there's a large stage with lots of acts, that all starts at 12, so get in early because it is busy and you might want to claim your little picnic area.
Yes.
And it goes through till just after 6 o'clock. And I'm not going to read out all the entertainment, although I've got it in front of me. But there's a lot, and it's going to be something for everyone.
Some highlights?
Let me say something interesting for this year is that they're actually changing the layout of the park.
No.
Yes, because usually it's when you come down Point Chev Road,
Yes.
the stage is to the left.
Yes.
And then they have a market area to the right. They're actually putting the stage on the right-hand side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the market on the left. So I think they're just trying to change it up a little bit because it's been going for 20 years and it's been very similar every single year. And
Just freshen it up.
Just freshen it up. I mean, obviously,
It's not because the neighbours have been complaining about noise, is it?
I don't think so. Well, this is moving it closer to other houses.
Facing the other way.
No. But, if it's not broken, don't fix
Yeah.
it, excuse me. But I think they're just trying to freshen it up a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that works.
People are going to get confused, man.
Well, they'll just have to work it
Everyone's in
out.
the market. Who
And
are the performers?
I'm emceeing from 12 till
So you'll be showing
2.
everyone where to go, so to speak, if they go to the wrong end.
Okay.
But it's a really awesome event. I mean, you've got sometimes they have 10,000 people.
Yeah.
But obviously a celebration of the community.
Big fun family day.
Yep.
It's very family.
Yeah.
So
I think sometimes people don't get that. It's a family event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about it is you've got a really diverse mix of people there. But you've got everything from the kind of the entertainment to also like the stalls. And actually, I find it awesome to be able to kind of talk to a number of the people that are on the ground supporting the community. So it's a really awesome day.
Yeah. Are you going this
Yes.
year?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, so I'll be there as my usual pilgrimage.
What are you taking in your picnic? Let's talk about it. Cheese board? What are we seeing?
I like.
She's going to be supporting the stalls and buying off
my God, of
local.
course.
Thank you, Stephen. I can employ you as my PR agent. But yeah, I mean, if I was taking a picnic, it would probably be kombucha and some Vegemite and cheese sandwiches.
Oh, heaven.
Or burger ring sandwiches.
Oh, no.
Burger ring sandwiches.
You've never done that?
What?
Burger ring sandwich? No.
No, she's looking really surprised that we haven't.
I thought everybody did that.
No.
Okay.
Thank God you've got the kombucha to offset it.
Yeah.
Where did you learn that one?
Great Barrier Island.
No. I've been doing that white bread and burger ring sandwiches. It's my. Yeah,
that your
I thought that was a Kiwi.
It's
I thought that was a
specialty.
Kiwi delicacy.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Okay.
I've
Should we move on?
Salt and vinegar chips on a sandwich.
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
salt and vinegar and Vegemite.
Or a hot chip buddy.
I hate them.
Oh, let's stop now. MediaWorks will be there. There'll be a whole team of us, so come and say hello if you are there. And one thing that's really cool that's happening on TV3 this week, you may have spotted during the ad breaks, these things called idents, which basically tell you what channel you're watching. And there's a whole lot of Pride-themed ones playing this week, which I think is pretty cool.
Cool.
There are some other events coming up, and I really like, I was saying last week, the community ones where you can go down to a community centre which wouldn't usually be, in a suburb that you wouldn't usually expect to see an event like this. And there's a whole lot of movie screenings. There's Moonlight being played at the Wesley Community Centre. Call Me By Your Name, which is a great movie. That one's down at the Waterfront. Pride is playing in Te Atatu. And The Miseducation of Cameron Post is playing at the Newland Community Centre over a series of different nights, but some of them are outdoors, so just check on the weather. I'm hoping the weather's good for Big Gay Out as well, because it was 2 years.
I think it's looking okay.
2 years in a row it was rained out, was it?
No. Last year it was cancelled.
Okay.
And the year before it rained a bit, but it still went ahead.
Yeah.
It was Gita last year, wasn't it? Was it that time?
Oh, yeah.
Hurricane Gita.
Our mate Gita.
Yeah. Oh my God, my memory for weather events.
Because with the Auckland Rainbow Dog Show was cancelled last year as well.
Oh, it's coming back with force
Bigger
this
and
week.
brighter than ever.
Yeah. Other things on this week. Thomas Sainsbury, who seems to be involved in just about every single theatre event during Pride. There's a play by him called Status, and it's all about HIV in modern times. That's at Q Theatre, as is Legacy 6. Legally Split. Bruce Brown was on last week's podcast, so you know all about that. That has kicked off already. And there's a Rainbow Families Picnic Dinner at Coyle Park, 4:30pm Friday afternoon.
Amazing.
They're just getting their spot really early.
You did say to get there early.
Sleeping out.
That's just crazy.
All right, so we're about to wrap it up, but Nikki, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me anytime.
And Nikki, what is the one thing you're going to be doing for me from now on?
I'm going to be putting my sunglasses not the wrong way up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were
Working
going to
for your
say
people.
making burgering
that's
sandwiches.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm actually tempted to try one of those sandwiches now.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with us, go to the Facebook group called News Hub Podcasts. You can email us, theoutlook@mediaworks.co.nz. You can call us on 0800 002 898. Or just head to our website, newshub.co.nz/podcasts. We'll see you next time.
Our inbox needs filling. Get in touch if you have a story you'd like to tell or a topic that you want us to cover. All emails are kept confidential.